Do you think it's ever appropriate for the president to use his office to solicit investigations into a domestic political opponent?
My apologies. Soliciting investigations into a domestic political opponent, I don't think that would be in accord with our values.
As the Deputy Secretary of State, are you aware of any other efforts by the President or anyone else to encourage, suggest, or request that a foreign government investigate one of the President's political rivals?
I'm not aware of any such, Senator.
Not to President Xi?
No,
Prime Minister May?
I'm not aware of that, Senator.
Let me ask you, you relayed to me, and I appreciate you came by to meet with me, and we had an in-depth discussion. You relayed to me in our meeting yesterday that you personally had met Ambassador Yovanovitch in Kiev earlier this year. Is that correct?
Last year, actually.
Last year, okay. So you would agree that she served the Department of State and represented the United States capably and admirably?
I told her so.
Yet you were the one who told Ambassador Yovanovitch that she was being recalled early, correct?
I did.
In your view, was there any basis to recall Ambassador Yovanovitch early?
Yes, there was. The president had lost confidence in her.
The president had lost confidence in her.
Yes.
And you were told that by the Secretary of State.
I was.
Did you ask why he lost confidence in her?
Yes.
And what was the answer?
I was told that he had lost confidence in her, period.
Well, that's not a why. He just lost confidence in her. Didn't explain why.
You asked if I asked. I asked what I was
And,
told. Was
and the answer you got was that he
had lost confidence.
He didn't explain why he lost confidence in her. Now, you said to me yesterday, once you were given this assignment, you wanted to treat Ambassador Yovanovitch with respect. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The best way to show respect would have been to push back on the secretary and say, why are we recalling someone who's, by the way, whose term had been extended, and then we're recalling her back even though there was only a few months left in her nomination, a career ambassador. Why didn't you push back?
Well, as we also discussed yesterday, Senator, this had been a discussion that I'd had with the secretary over a period of time, and the secretary, in turn, had pushed back and sought justification from those who were criticizing Ambassador Yovanovitch. And after several months had elapsed, the secretary finally told me that there had come a point at which the president had lost confidence in the ambassador and that we needed to make a change in our mission to Ukraine.
You were aware that there were individuals and forces outside of the State Department seeking to smear Ambassador Yovanovitch, is that correct?
I was.
And to seeking to remove her, is that correct?
I was.
And did you know Mr. Giuliani was one of those people?
I believed he was, yes.
When, in fact, this came about, did you ever personally advocate for a statement of support on behalf of Ambassador Yovanovitch?
At the time of her removal, I did not.
So let me turn then to some of these other questions. What did you know about a shadow Ukraine policy being carried out by Rudy Giuliani?
My knowledge in the spring and summer of this year about any involvement of Mr. Giuliani was in connection with a campaign against our ambassador to Ukraine.
And you were given a packet of disinformation attempting to smear Ambassador Yovanovitch, given to you, as if I recall correctly, our conversation by the State Department counsel?
Counselor. Yeah, it was in response to inquiries by the secretary and others about what our ambassador had done. We got, as I understood, that packet of materials.
Now, did the counselor tell you how the package came to him?
He had been given it, either he or the secretary, I believe it was he. He had received that packet from someone at the White House.
And did he tell you that he and the secretary read the package?
He had read the packet. I don't know I don't believe the secretary had.
Did you read the package?
I did.
And what did you think of it?
It didn't provide to me a basis for taking action against our ambassador, but I wasn't aware of all of that might be going on in the background, and to be cautious, I asked that the packet of materials, both for purposes of assessing the truth of the matters that were being asserted and their relevance and the provenance of the package, who was giving it to us to influence us, be looked at by the Inspector General and by the Justice Department.
Did you know it was Mr. Giuliani who created that package?
I don't know that.
You don't
To this
know
day, I don't know that.
You didn't ask, where did it come from?
I did, but I don't, but yes, I did ask, but I don't know.
And no one told you where it came from?
No.
So it happened by Immaculate Conception.
Hence my referral of the package.
Well, the reason I asked you this line of question is because you're going to an embassy, one of the most critical positions in the national interest and security of the United States, in which I think the president's views differ clearly from many on both sides of the aisle as it relates vis-a-vis Russia. And there may be moments in time in which what happened in Ukraine is going to be happening as it relates to Russia. And the question is, what will you do? What will you do?
I will follow the law in my conscience. In this instance, with respect to the removal of the ambassador, my experience had been that when the president loses confidence in an ambassador, no matter what the reason, that the president's confidence in his ambassador in a capital is the coin of the realm, the most important thing for that ambassador. And if he's lost that confidence, and this happened, as I think I may have mentioned to some of the members of this committee, to my uncle when he was the last U.S. ambassador to Iran, President Carter thought that my uncle was disloyal to the administration and to the president and his policies, and in January of 1979, asked Secretary Vance to have my uncle removed as our ambassador. Secretary Vance objected, said that my uncle was implementing the administration's policies. He pushed back. Several months later, the White House, the president, said, Sullivan's got to come out. He was removed as our ambassador. He was undermined by the White House. There were leaks about his character, his loyalty to the United States and to the administration. And as a result, after 32 years of service in the Foreign Service, three-time ambassador, he resigned from the Foreign Service. So when the president loses confidence in the ambassador, right or wrong, the ambassador needs to come home.
Well, I'll just close by saying I appreciate you told me that story, and I appreciate hearing it again. When the president loses faith in an ambassador because of political reasons, not because of policy reasons, not because the ambassador has been disloyal to the United States, not because the ambassador's not doing their job, when it is because surrogates like Mr. Giuliani and others who have political and economic interests are pushing against our ambassador, I would have hoped that you would have spoken up a lot more loudly. And if you get this position, I would expect you, if that happens to our people in the U.S. Embassy in Russia, that you will speak up much more forcefully. Because that's the essence of being an ambassador. Yes, to represent the nation, but also to defend the men and women who work every day and should be insulated from that type of political consequence. And so this is something that, with the experience you just told me about, I would have thought that you would have been more forceful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.